Okay. Yeah, I'd never been to the Grand Tetons, so I forced them to add the Grand Tetons to Yosemite and Glacier.
Nice.
And
That's a
my
huge
son
trip.
was just super impressed with the Grand Tetons.
Good.
He's put that on his go back to and spend a week there on a bicycle.
Wow.
It's a beautiful bicycle park.
Amazing.
He likes to hike and bicycle, so it's just got incredible
Nice.
action for
Great.
and a bunch of good places to eat. The park concessioner is real good.
It was good. The park concessions. Okay.
Hmm?
The park food was good.
No, the concessioner that runs the inns
Oh,
and the restaurants there
okay.
was really good.
Nice. Cool. Jake, it looks like I got the YouTube working.
Excellent, because I did not change anything. I think it was just a weird quirk that happens
A
sometimes.
glitch. Yeah. Yeah. And you were able to get the package out today?
Not yet.
Okay.
I had some other stuff I had to work on.
Casey said she'll be joining us in a couple minutes. Looks like RT's here. Oh, exciting. Hey, RT.
Hi, everyone.
Good to have you here. It is 6:35, so I guess I can move us on into start the meeting, and then Casey will join us a little bit after. So, oh, is that? Why did it go out of order? Okay. There's a quick flash of everything that you're going to see. Anyways, thank you all for being here for our June 30th, 2025 PAC meeting. We did have to move it from our regularly scheduled Wednesday over to this Monday. So I'm glad that some of you could still be here. It's not our regular time. But we're going to touch on this project 255 West Julian Street, also called Arbor by Westbank. It's a really impressive project. They couldn't be here. The developer couldn't be here tonight with us just because of scheduling issues, but I think I have a lot of good stuff from their previous presentations and that they've given me to show on. So we'll get to that. But first, just a quick round of introductions. It's going to be really fast because there's only 4 of us here right now. But I'm Jake. I work for Catalyze SV. I am our manager of development projects, and I facilitate and operate the project advocacy committee, which you are here at tonight's meeting. Alex, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Alex, co-founder and executive director of Catalyze SV. This might be my about 75th project advocacy committee meeting ever. Carlin is probably pretty close to that. And excited
I
to
don't
be
keep count.
excited to be here again. We hit a milestone last month where we scored a project 5 out of 5 on everything. And that was never has happened. I wasn't even sure it ever would happen. So quite a milestone for us. So anyway, excited to be with you all. Nati, sorry. I'm glad you're taking notes and here with us in spirit. Let's go to RT and then Carlin.
Hi, everyone. I think this is my probably second meeting, no, third meeting. So excited to be here. I've worked as staff for several cities in the Bay Area. So it's always good to kind of see how you all score projects, and it's I get different viewpoints. So appreciate that from attending your meetings. And if I try to add some, typically it's trying to look at or inform people about how the city might look at it or how a designer might look at it. So I think that's what I like about this committee.
Yeah, good to have you here and good to have that view and input.
Okay, I'm Carlin. I've been around almost as long as Alex. I may have missed the first meeting, but I think I got the second one.
Good to have you, Carl.
Former urban designer, long time ago, but I learned a lot in doing it. And I'm the high density advocate on the committee here. As you saw on my plan for the golf course.
Yeah, for certain.
Thanks, Jake, for all of those good improvements.
Yeah, no problem, Carlin. I tried to make it it was, passing what came out of your brain into my brain, and I was trying to adapt it as best I could. So I'm glad that it was satisfactory.
Yep.
And actually, Casey just joined. If Casey wants to say a little bit about yourself on that.
Yeah, hi there. I've been involved with Catalyze SV for a few years. I'm based in Los Altos, and my background is career actually in residential architecture and construction, single family homes, and I'm passionate about smart growth and good development and affordable housing and higher density, and like to see good developments happen. So happy to be part of the work of Catalyze SV. Thanks.
Yeah, glad to have you here. And I think this project tonight will tick a couple of the boxes that you just mentioned. And so it might be a little bit faster of a presentation or a quicker night. So if you all have questions or comments during my presentation, since the developer could not join us tonight, please feel free and just ask, speak up, or raise a hand if you don't feel comfortable talking over me. And I will hopefully try to answer those questions while I'm going through my presentation. So without waiting any further, tonight's project is 255 West Julian Street. This is just a little rendering of it. And here is where it's located. So that light blue rectangle in the center is the site. Blue is transit lines, and green is highlighting parks. That blue site area is just north of San Pedro Square. It's like a block above San Pedro Square. So if you can ground yourself based on that, it's kind of where it's located. And this is just a closer up zoom in on the project site that you can see here. It's 1.8 acres is the collective size of these couple pieces of land here. And you can see it's right there on the on-off ramp on that interchange. And it's sort of wedged in a very awkwardly shaped site. And I wanted to add in this here, since looking through all the materials for this project, the developer has quite a bold sort of vision statement that I don't think I've seen any other developer that we've met with have something similar. They have a whole manifesto on what their vision is for, what Westbank's vision is for this project, and there are other projects in San Jose that they have. And they echo a lot of the points that I think Catalyze SV likes to talk about. And so this excerpt from their manifesto is just that Silicon Valley has focused on building the tools for innovation, but it hasn't been focusing on itself. And what they write is, it is not focused on its own house, and the results are apparent. 2-hour commutes, lack of leadership on climate change, high cost of housing, lack of community, a way of living and working based upon shuttling workers to and from suburban industrial parks. The effects can be seen everywhere. Silicon Valley has revolutionized our technology at the expense of community. So when they are envisioning tonight's project, it is to sort of tackle these issues of climate change, commuting patterns, and vibrancy. They use not the term vibrancy, but in their manifesto, they use the term aliveness, which is, I guess, another good word for it. And so that'll lead me into the first couple of details about the project here. It's a residential mixed use project. So in terms of units, what we have is 600 total units, 1.8 acre site, 18 floors, 213 feet tall. This project was originally entitled as a office project, but things being what they are post-COVID, and the market for all of this sort of stuff, they have brought the project back through a residential mixed use retail lens. So this rendering, I think, does a good job of showcasing the main project, which is what's in the center here. But they're also going to be renovating an adaptive reuse of the Davidson office building over here on the left side. So that is a separate but sort of connected part of this project. The main building that you see in front of you here is where all of the units are. So that would be all 600 residential units. The other building would be office and community space. And so just to give you a typical floor of what those residential units would look like, this is just a slice from one of the 18 floors up there, just showing you the kind of curvature and arrangement of the floor patterns here. It's mostly 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. And then to give you a different sort of elevation view of the project here and how that all breaks down, and also touch on some transportation stuff. It has a total of 318 automobile car parking spaces. Those are all below ground. So these are below ground parking spaces. And that's kind of different from what I think we usually see from developers, that being a wraparound style, or the first 2 floors are typically parking, the first floor is parking. Residential sort of conceals it. But all of this is underground. That first floor is for resident amenities and retail only. So they're keeping lively uses on that space. And then also on the parking floor and retail floor, that first floor, there are 146 bicycle stalls. So a couple less bicycle stalls than there's parking. And then this is a view of the first floor, first level sort of floor plan there, just to give you a view of how everything is sort of arranged in this space. So you can see the 2 big blocks of retail on the 2 corners of the building. And that bike room that I had mentioned is tucked back there behind the retail. And it's 13,000 square feet of retail space. So those 2 corners there. There's also this plaza that they've called it, this plaza between the Davidson building and the 255 West Julian Street building, where they have retail facing it. So a little bit of a vibrancy component there, creating that open space for community. And just to touch a little bit more on those amenities, I think you can see, they're not labeled on this, but just to go over all these amenities here, this is on level 2 and level 3 of the building. So the image we were just looking at, level 1, now we're looking at level 2 and level 3, which is where most of the resident amenities are. So they have leasable storage space for residents, a pool on the deck. On the first floor, there is a pet wash, a place to wash your pets. Every floor has a couple of rooftop terraces, is what they call it. So every floor has these like balcony and deck areas that are open to residents. And then there's 7,000 square feet of currently unprogrammed interior amenity space. So that being, it could have some use in the future. That could be like co-working space or possibly even a fitness room, depending on how they choose to go with that there. And then there's the outdoor open space that they have on the deck level. It forms like this, I can't call it a courtyard because it's not really encased in a court. It's open to one face of the building there. You can see it's on the level 2. It sort of opens out. And that's part of a larger design philosophy that they have going throughout the entire project that I'll touch on a little bit more later. Where this project really shines, and where I think a lot of projects are sort of weaker, is on sustainability. So the Arbor, tonight's project, 255, is part of Westbank's zero carbon community of proposed buildings in San Jose. So that's a collection of these 4, 5 in total buildings that have over here on the right, of these green sustainable buildings that they want to bring to San Jose. And so they're really big on these different sustainability features. Some of them, all electric building appliances systems. Our project tonight, all 18 stories, it's a mass timber structure, which I'm glad we're seeing sort of a lot more of these. It also is an adaptive reuse, as I had mentioned earlier, of that other building next to it, the Davidson building. Passive conditioning for heating and cooling. Advanced facade design. This sort of touches on their very articulated design that they have in all these terraces, and show you a little bit more about that. And they're going for LEED Platinum as their rating this project. So just to talk a little bit about Mass Timber, the developer here, this is a quote from them, talking about building arbor with Mass Timber will substantially reduce CO emissions, CO2 emissions, and the weight of the structure. So to describe it, using Mass Timber, it's an alternative to steel and concrete. We've talked about it a lot here at other PAC meetings. But essentially, it's a very strong material that can work as that alternative to concrete and steel to allow people to build taller buildings. The photo on the right is from a building here in the Bay Area that some of you may have seen, 1510 Webster in Oakland. It's a Mass Timber building that's now complete. I can't remember how many stories it is, but it is quite tall. And so just to touch on what Mass Timber is as like a material, it's wood essentially treated and glued together in a way that lends it superior strength to any individual wood beam. So you can create these super strong materials out of these weaker components, and it allows you to build taller. CLT, which is what's shown in this photo and on the left here, is cross-laminated timber. So it's arranged cross each other, laminated, and it creates these big beams that you see here. And then this calls out sort of where Mass Timber is in our project. So it uses those cross-laminated timber panels. So that's sort of what you can see on the roof of this project, maybe. And then the glue-lam beams, the glue-lam girders, they call it, glue laminated girders. So those are the vertical and like horizontal beam components you can see here. So lots of natural sort of wood in this project. And so in there talking about this project in Mass Timber, one thing that they also mention here is that there is an existing building that they're reusing, because this building isn't Mass Timber. This is an already existing building made out of good old concrete. And so they are, instead of demolishing the building, they're going to renovate it, adaptive reuse of the project here. So they're reinventing the Davidson building as a contemporary work and community space, providing a link with history and further minimizing the carbon footprint. Because they don't have to demolish this site, they're not doing away with all of the embodied carbon, and they're not bringing in anything new to replace it. So they're not burning carbon there to construct them. And so they're sort of reimagining the Davidson building to create this new community space, the new Davidson building, but also this park that you can see here on the right down the center of the photo or rendering. And so through their calculations that the developer has done, reusing the Davidson building will save an estimated 1,390 tons of carbon. That represents the emissions of roughly 235 cars on the road for a year. And so that also avoids all landfill waste. On their website, they have this breakdown of like the materials and what exactly is in the Davidson building and where they're saving that carbon basically from going to waste, going to the landfill. There's a lot more components to it than just this, but this is what I could fit on the slide for all. I will show you more of that website a little bit later if you have questions, because they have a very detailed view of everything about the project. And then this is another view showing some other sustainability features here, how they're going to do wastewater capture on the site, collecting and then treatment of that. And also the aspect that is really cool about this project is the green roofs that they have. So I forget what the term is, but it's this, oh my gosh. You have this very, it's not open space, but it is, it's a green roof that is open to folks to look at via the terraces and stuff like that. And there's also the rooftop solar components on the portions of the roof that are not open green roof. I'll take us over to one of their presentations. If anyone has any questions about sustainability, I can take those now because I think I've touched on almost all the sustainability components. I'll jump over to their presentation here. This was a presentation that the developer has given previously, basically talking about the design influence on the project. And so one of our members, Sandana, I have a feeling would be very into this, but she's not here tonight. But it's looking at basically how to translate the ecology of the valley into a building. How can the building sort of embody the Santa Clara County, the valley area? And so they just have a couple of graphics in here that I wanted to point out that I thought were neat from their presentation here, basically showing the transition of land uses. This is part of that issue that they had touched on earlier, of that we have this sort of sprawling metropolis that takes up a lot of space, but doesn't necessarily create community. So it's showing how these natural spaces were taken and mostly given over to single family residential. And then we have the design concept, which one of the things that they mentioned in their sustainability angle is how their design, their facade lends itself to sustainability. And so I'll talk a little bit about that here. This is another good rendering though, where you can see the green roofs that they have. And this is also those terraced spaces that every floor has access to. So each floor has its little own bit of rooftop activation, really. This is another breakdown of how the roofs tiled green, where there are green roofs. And it's this very stepped, cascading canyon-like approach, they call it. Rather than a solid block, you have this sort of more organic, wavy, random structure. And they attribute that to, you can see here all those different green terrace structures and those balconies. It's very, very green project, lots of plants going on.
Yeah, I love the green roof a lot.
Yes, there's the green roof component. Thank you for joining us. I just mentioned that I thought you would be interested in the project. So yeah. Once again, just their ground floor plan here. Where do they call it? Yeah, so the facade. They call this the residential ravines. So rather than having a solid structure, it's sort of it's chunked up, broken up by these ravines that create all these terraces and balcony spaces where they have decided to put plant life. So that their attribute is sort of that it's inspired by like waterfalls, kind of. So it's these canyons that look like they have been carved out by the running of water over time through these areas. Another inspiration for that was it sort of creates these anchor environments for trees and all this other life and nature. So they're trying to echo that in their design. And part of creating these residential ravines is that it contributes to a cooling effect, as they've described it. So the terraces and all of those exposed faces get significantly less sun than the rest of the faces of the building during the hottest hours of the day. So that way they are a cooler sort of space for people to inhabit. And this is another view of one of the residential slices of the project that does a much better job than the one I had earlier of illustrating what those green terrace spaces sort of look like. This floor, I don't think has one that is open for all residents, but you can see how some of the units have access to it. And this is another rendering here where you can sort of clearly see those terrace spaces, all the trees poking out from the green roof, and lots of people walking around the commercial ground floor that they have designed there. I don't know if any of you are interested in shadows. It's never been a particularly big question from all of us here, but I do have these for you if you are interested in that. And then I'll take us over to their website just to show a little bit more. of the project from the architect here, some other renderings of the project. So you can see this is approaching the Davidson building, so that adaptive reuse building, and then our project, the Arbor, directly behind it. And this is a rendering of what the inside might look like. So here they do have that exposed mass timber, those cross-laminated slabs for the ceiling and floor, and those glulam girders, as they call them, for the structure. And then this is the same image, I think, as the one I was showing you earlier, basically showing how it's this sort of ecological habitat of air is flowing through it. You have the sun beaming directly on it. It collects rainwater. It recycles its own water. All those sort of things. This is that same view of the park that's going to be running in between the Davidson building and the Arbor structure. Another view of what that street retail might look like. Those good old generic retail storefronts. I think that is it for there. So there are a couple of things where the developer has not clarified yet on how they're going to sort of meet these issues. One thing that they're on the verge of figuring out is the affordable housing component. The developer told me that they just submitted their affordable housing compliance plan to the city of San Jose. The city of San Jose has an inclusionary housing ordinance that requires developers the developers of residential projects like this are required to comply with. And what that inclusionary housing ordinance does is it requires a developer to deliver some kind of benefit of affordable housing, providing some amount of units or funding and whatnot. And so the developer just submitted their plan to the city on how they will comply with that. One of the typical ways that developers comply with that is by providing 15% of their total amount of units as deed restricted AMI bound income levels of affordable. So at this time, I don't know what those are, but the developer will be getting back to me probably shortly on what that is, since they're waiting to hear back from the city on that one. I think that is probably the only major question mark that I was left with on this project. So if any of you have any questions, please go ahead and ask away now. And I will attempt to answer as best as I can. After that, we can get into
do you know like what type of plantings, like what the flora, like the specific species that they're using?
Yes, I do, Sandana. I can get you that. 1 second. They have their sheet of plantings. And as soon as I find that, I will put it up on screen, or maybe send you a screenshot in the chat, just because I think it might be a little teeny. Let's see. Oh. Yes, so Sandana, this is a very comprehensive list here. I can email it to you if you'd like to read it more in detail. But this is their planting inventory, their schedule of the many different trees and shrubs that are on site and that we will be adding.
Yeah, I like the holly leaf cherry. It's actually I'm going on like a walk right now in a trail, and there's like a lot of it here. It's like also the toyon. It's like related to apples. Both like holly leaf cherry and toyon are both edible, and they're both part of the rose family. And island oak and coast live oak are both native, and island oak is from the Chanel Islands, and coast live oak is like native to this like Silicon Valley area. So that's nice.
Okay, thank you for that little bit of knowledge there. And I guess that's a good sign that they have some plants that you like.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have the different habitats like the alkali meadow and the oak savanna. I think that's really nice that they have those, and like the oak woodlands. Yeah, the different habitats are nice.
Yeah, sort of. I can pull it back up, but what they were trying to do was sort of echo and recreate the ecology of the valley before it really developed. So trying to capture those different biomes was a big part of one of their previous presentations. So they wanted to capture that in design of the building. And something I guess I think they touch on it a little bit here at the end of this presentation. But their community engagement process, they have sort of met with a lot of different organizations for how to envision and design this project. I'm not sure. They did a lot of community outreach previously on this project, as it was envisioned as an office project, but I'm not sure how much they've gone back and revisited it as a residential project. I can say that I went to one of their community meetings, and it was online, virtual via Zoom, much like we are tonight. And there were only 2 members from the public in attendance at that meeting. So it was me and a someone representing I believe it was a carpenter's union there. So that was it in terms of who was attending that. I know I did a lot of talking, so please, if you have any questions or if you think we're good to go to move into probably maybe scoring it, there aren't a lot of questions and we instead want to discuss it and talk about what we like and don't like, and we can go ahead and do that.
Well, Jake, why don't we go through the categories a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, starting with community, I suppose. Again, on screen here, they have these partnerships that they've reached out to with these different organizations, mostly in terms of the architecture of the project. So they've done a lot of workshopping and talking to different organizations about shaping the design of this project. It's a very big aspect of it. And as for community engagement on like just a broad public base, they had their one community meeting that I attended that I guess folks were just not all that interested in, because they previously had one, a community meeting scheduled that no one showed up to, so they canceled it that night. And then so they rescheduled it for later, and it was only the 2 of us showed up. So I'm not sure if there's just not community interest in the project, but these were noticed by the city of San Jose. So I guess there's just not a lot of, I mean, if we look at where the project is located.
I would think that the community in that particular location is not residential. The community is the other businesses and people like that. And those people are going to be thrilled to have, Lord knows how much density of residential
Yeah,
to
330
help
dwelling
support
units.
the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that I think the neighborhood there is basically business people, not community people in the old sense of the word.
Mhm.
Because that's one of the things I mentioned on the Pleasant Hills project, is that you really ought to include Eastgate in the community meetings, because that would be a huge boost for Eastgate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you've nailed it. It's just that the area around this is not lending itself towards not currently a residential heavy area. There's not a lot of neighbors to the project to, I guess, have interest in.
Right.
Yeah. So that's as it is for community. Looking to vibrancy, again, 13,000 square feet of retail. I'll pull up their slides again. But if anyone has any questions about like the vibrancy component, please ask, because I think, at least maybe personally, that they have a lot going on here. They have that plaza, they have this arboretum plaza over on the corner of the site as well, by the Davidson building. So this very, very landscaped environment. And they've even done something that I wish more projects would do here, where it's the sidewalk really comes in and creates this sort of much more open space. There's a lot of public space for people to stand here rather than just like, cutting off or having a very narrow sidewalk. It's a big sort of inviting place over on the left by the retail A block. You can see it like swoops in, they carve a little chunk out of the building.
Yeah, Jake, I kind of agree. I think they've done a good job with where they are, both in terms of creating a sense of entry, right? Kind of dividing up the front. I assume that part is the front, the retail.
Yeah,
And a central, lobby, and then the retail on either side. So am I interrupting? Is someone trying to say something? Sorry.
No, you're free to keep going.
Okay, and then also the plaza, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the existing building. Some things I wonder about, and this is something the San Jose will probably have to deal with, which is, how fire trucks get around, and, they'll probably get into all that later. But there's also a park across the street, is there? Which could be a nice amenity.
Yes.
I thought I saw that. So yeah.
So it's complementing an already a nice little park
space. Right. So I think locating residential near other public open space is a good idea. So I like that ground floor activation.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think those are all very good points about how it sort of complements the existing urban fabric and welcomes people into the project. And then touching on our transportation category, I think this is maybe another category similar to affordability where I just don't have a lot of information regarding those transportation initiatives that they're pursuing or taking on this site, what sort of TDM measures they may be doing. Really all I have for all of you tonight is the parking of the project. And it is right next to a freeway, but it's also downtown. So it's in a place that should definitely cater to different modes of transportation.
What's the ratio again, Jake? Is it one? No.
Well, yeah, so it's 600 units, and we have basically 300 total spaces.
Okay. So yeah, definitely less than half, I think, of the residential. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
And then I assume if they're shooting for LEED, they probably have some, transportation programs, right? So
yes, they definitely, and if I had it by now, I would be able to touch on all those different transportation demand management strategies that they are implementing. And then in terms of intensity, they are building just beyond what San Jose has for the site. So it's a little bit taller than what San Jose allows there, and they're getting their waivers for that. It was 213 feet tall, 18 stories, as I touched on. Are we recording again, Alex? Okay, good.
Do we mean to stop?
No. It's fine. It's fine. I wasn't sure. So that's pretty intensity, short category. Sustainability, I think, is where the project really shines with all of those features there that I walked through. It's the mass timber, not using concrete and steel, very carbon heavy, emission heavy materials. Something else that we've read about mass timber is that because of how architects and developers have to design when using mass timber, they end up creating a very, very detailed model of the building. And because of that, when they hit the ground, construction can move much, much faster because they already have basically everything figured out down to the last bolt. So it's a waste saving process. It cuts down on waste, and it also cuts down on the amount of time that is spent building the actual structure. In addition to just being a nice renewable material, as opposed to something like concrete or steel. And then, of course, the reuse of the Davidson building that's already there, not demolishing that, not replacing it, incorporating it into the existing design. And then the one category that I think this is weakest on, that I, again, not weak on, but that I don't have the information for all of you tonight, affordability. The developers still figuring that aspect out. And then our last category that we don't typically score projects on, legacy, is certainly a consideration here. I suppose it maybe is if we want to take a look at that adaptive reuse of the Davidson building as a legacy feature. But we'll see about that as we move into scoring the project. So does anyone have any specific questions about literally any of those categories? And if not, I think we can probably move into scoring. Seems like we might be good to get into the scoring and discussion. Alex?